2, 1. Welcome back. This is the Ashes of Outland's Light Forge Arena tier list valuation stream, where we tell you all the values of the cards according to their algorithm. And it's going to be on the tier list. It's going to be live on the lightforge.com. And you're probably listening to this on the Lightforge podcast, or watching it on YouTube, or viewing it live on Twitch. We are also called the Grinning Goat, and I'm Adwicta.
This is Merps.
All right, so Merps is dead because this is like, I don't know, hour 8 or 7 or something of this, and he is eating something that looks delicious. But we are talking about Shaman, so he doesn't have to talk much in here because I am so freaking excited about Shaman in Ashes of Outland, because Blizzard kind of looked at Shaman and thought, let's just give them everything, and the cards are going to be really good, and they're gonna be really fun to play, and they're gonna be just kind of like fireworks and explosions everywhere. So this is not gonna be good for balance, but again, it's Shaman. I don't know. I feel like Shaman could always use a little boost, so I'm not too upset about the balancing here. That they're pushing Shaman really hard in this expansion. Shamans are so good that they do not have a single card below a 100, and all of their cards except for 2 are above the 133 mark, including 2 cards that are their top 2 cards in the meta, in like the entire like rotation. So let's start there. The number 1 card in Shaman, to no one's surprise, this is a 207. So this is like matching that paladin weapon that generates murlocs. This is a shaman weapon that generates evolves. It is called Bogspine Knuckles, 5 mana 4/2. After your hero attacks, transform your minions into random ones that cost 1 more. So you know how Evolve was like a card and cost a mana and was pretty good? This one combines the 2 for only 1 and more mana cost without needing an extra card, and then afterwards it'll do it again.
You're attaching. It's like, do I want an Evolve attached to a True Silver? Yes.
Seems good.
That seems pretty good. Look, so it's not exactly as flexible as an Evolve, right? So me just saying that is disingenuous, because yes, if you combined a premium, like one of the best cards in the game, which is True Silver, with like another card that's just really, really good, you should have a super duper premium.
You should have like a 250.
Yes. So no, look, it's more awkward to use, right? It's definitely more awkward to use.
Especially that second hit. Like, you probably don't want to evolve your cards again immediately. Or it's not like good value, at least, right? Like, you're not getting a value evolve out of it.
Yeah, but look, 5 mana for a 4/2 weapon, you don't need much more than that for it to be already decent. And the effect, as long as you have like 1 minion on the board that you kind of want to evolve, it's already pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you can do is, if you can value trade, or if you guys don't know, you have things called totems, and you can evolve totems into things that actually do things.
That's such an unfair shot at totems. You're gonna see Merps with the rest of these cards. Totems are your best friends in this meta.
Totems actually are a thing now. That is true.
Alright, so Bogspine Knuckles, very obviously very good. Over 200 is silly. Over 175 is silly. Like, just like, not even to me, it's just unbalanced over 175. It's going to warp the meta. So this is over 200. It's definitely going to warp the meta, but except that it is an epic card, so you're just not going to see it that often. But whenever it does come out, it's just going to ruin the whole game. And, like, change the whole game. Like, not like a Twin Tyrant changes the whole game. A Twin Tyrant's only a 150. This is going to be a 200. This is going to wreck a whole game. All right. So the other card that Shaman has, that's their second best card in this meta, is a 195. It is Vivid Spores, also known as You Thought Grave Runes Was Good? It is 4 mana. Give your minions Death Rattle, resummon this minion. So it's like a Grave Runes, but like you need 2 minions.
Not as initial, like, here's the thing. So I think some people think, oh, this is just a much worse Grave Runes. Yes,
what?
But no. It's like, yes, but no. Because, like, here's the thing, right? you have to account for the fact that it's like, how often do you have the board as Shaman? How necessary is it for you to keep the board as Shaman, versus Priest and all of that? So this is something in which when I saw it initially, I was like, oh, this seems really high. And I'm like, no, I think this is totally fair.
You have
But
so
it
much more
definitely,
potential like stuff to be on the board, you know? And
yeah.
like you're just gonna summon a lot more like stuff. Because it's also only 4 mana. You're gonna play another minion with this.
And here's the thing, I think some people write off cards like this as just like, oh, it's just a win
Mm-hmm.
more card. In which case, it's like, you know what's a win more card? Like 95% of cards printed. And it's why AoEs are so good, right? Because it's one of those cards that's not just like win more, even though it still is a win more card. Um, Cards that require you to have a board in order to be really, really optimal are not bad. Like,
And
look at
especially
Silver.
in a high swing meta, like you
Yeah.
need to win more. Because what happens when you don't win more? Your opponent is winning more.
Hmm.
Like you can't just like if the game is really mechanical and you're like, I just need my like extra 4-1 that I got on the board for my good curve trades to win. Then like if
Hmm.
you have the board and you get an extra like 4-4 on the board, then if you don't, it's not that big of a deal. You're gonna win anyway. But the more swingy things are, the more you need to win more to prevent against the swing that swings against you in the first place, and or to just like end the game by hitting your opponents in the face more. Like that's swing more. And Vivid Spores is a high swing card.
It is.
It is also a card that works really well with stuff like Bloodlust, which is a staple of how shamans win. So when you're setting up stuff for Bloodlust, it looks very similar to Vivid Spores. Maybe a little less totems on the Vivid Spore side, but your general idea is doing similar-ish stuff. And it's also pretty flexible if you just like want to cast it on like one really big minion, right? Like let's say you played a not even really big. Let's say you played a Twin Tyrant, and then it doesn't die the next turn, and then you play a 4-drop, and then you cast Vivid Spores. That's really good. You just spent 4 mana to get a 4/10 and a 4/4.
You won the game,
Yeah,
essentially.
and,
Yeah.
and that's a bad situation for Vivid Spores. You're not getting like much quote unquote value out of it, but you still got a ton of value out of it. It's a bonkers card. Whereas Bogspine Knuckles can like has again right like we're talking about stuff that works with things like Bloodlust. Bogspine Knuckles kind of similar, right? Like if you have a lot of stuff on the board, more of them are probably hurt. You know, some of them may want to be like evolved. Like you're getting this whole thing where like you want stuff on the board. Knuckles like totems are also good. Vivid Spores you probably don't want more totems, but they're just both they're insane. Insane cards. This is not on the same level as like 170 cards. This is one tier above that. This is the 195 207 cards.
Yep. So instead of thinking it as like, well, this is a win more card, think about like, okay, in the situations that you concoct in your head, right? It's like, oh, what if I don't have the board at all? Okay, tons of cards are terrible. Like, if you think Bogspine Knuckles is good, Bogspine Knuckles is a lot worse. Or like, it's basically not even a lot worse, but like, it's still just like bad when you don't have the board,
Yeah, like you
right?
take a lot of face damage. Your opponent's still
Take a lot
hitting
of
you
face damage.
because they have the board. And
Yeah.
then, you know, like the reason True Silver is significantly better is because even if you don't have the board, you're not hurting yourself as much.
Yeah. So for some reason, when it comes to stuff like Vivid Spores, like cards like Vivid Spores, people tend to think of it as only a win more card. But then when they think of something like Bogspine Knuckles, they're like, oh, this is just a really good card, period. Even
Hmm.
though that, um, like if
Certainly
you're,
less win more, but still a
it definitely
significant win
is.
more card.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so now we're past the super premiums of stuff over 175. Those are around 200, and we are getting to our first common card. Barkspine Knuckles was epic. Vivid Spores was rare. This next one is common. It's 169, so it's like Lightning Storm level. And you're gonna have another one after this that's rare. That's 166. So they're similar levels. Lightning Storm is good. These are really good cards. Like these are very premium cards. And this one is called Serpentine Portal. Serpentine Portal is a flanking strike that can go face, and it's 3 mana instead of 4, but it overloads 1. So it's just like,
Stupid.
yeah. And okay, so it doesn't summon a 3/3. It summons a random 3-cost minion. which is kind of similar to a 3-3.
Which is kind of a 3-3. Yeah.
So it's really insanely good. I don't know what else to say about it. There's not much like weird stuff going on here. It's just a super good whatever. We like Shaman kind of card.
It can go face.
Yeah. Can do all sorts of stuff. Okay, and similarly rated is this rare card called Torrent, which is a 5 mana deal 8 damage to a minion, so like a Flame Lance. But like we've seen these days, when they make a Flame Lance, like a Rolling Fireball, they just like add really good stuff to it for no reason. So this one costs 3 less if you cast a spell last turn. Spells are normal in the arena. They're not like as plentiful as minions, sure, but you're gonna have a significant number of spells. You're probably going to have cast one the turn before. You have a good shot of it at least. And if you don't, it's a 5 mana assassinate, pretty much. That's pretty good. And if you do, you just get 3 extra mana. It's a 166. It's actually not that much higher than stuff like assassinate. I'm gonna go to Rogue and look at assassinate. I think an assassinate is like a 150 something. Assassinate's 147 in Rogue. And in Shaman, a Torrent is 166. That's like got almost 20 points for this ability.
Yeah, and it's different in terms of availability of like comparing hard removals between classes is always a little bit tough. Comparing like 4/4s between classes is a lot more stable.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about hard removals or just removals in general, you get murkier.
Yeah, so Boxfly Knuckles, you have a good weapon that can go face that also buffs your whole board. Vivid Spores, you have a ridiculous, essentially, board buff and, like, just, win more kind of card. Serpentine Portal, you have a very flexible mid-range card that can also go 3 face. Torrent, you have a hard removal that can also get you a whole bunch of tempo. Let's keep going down. Another common card is March Spawn. It's a 154. So again, this is past the point where I like to make cards. It's very powerful. It is a 3-drop, 3 mana, 3/4 elemental. Battle Cry. If you cast a spell last turn, discover a spell.
Why is there no drawback here?
Because we're past the point in which things that are on curve have drawbacks. They just add random dragons to your hand, man. And this is like adding a random dragon because it has a condition. If you play it on 3, you probably didn't cast a spell on turn 2. You're not going to get a spell. On the other hand, if it's later on in the game, you will not want to play this 3 mana 3/4 until you have played a spell the turn before.
Right.
So you will get a spell.
Yeah. Like the ideal situation is you have the coin and you coin out a 3 and then you play this.
Yeah, that would be really good. I didn't even think about that. Wow.
Yeah, I'm sure the algorithm has.
The algorithm definitely has. The algorithm takes care of the coin in like every way. But yeah, 154. This is I don't know, Twin Tyrant level, I'd say. It's actually better than a Twin Tyrant. All right.
Well, it's an elemental too.
Yeah.
Which is not irrelevant.
Stuff happens.
Yeah,
it's Walking Fountain level. 156 is Walking Fountain. Someone in chat was asking about it before.
Yeah.
That means all this other stuff is better than a Walking Fountain. Like, and mostly because it's not 8 mana.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
like, you get to use it. Okay, so those are good cards, and we're not done yet. There's more good cards. Remember, all the Shaman cards are freaking above a 140. So the next one is a 146. It's epic. It's called a Shattered Rumbler. It's a 5 mana 4/6 elemental. Battle Cry. If you cast a spell last turn, deal 2 damage to all minions. So in Constructed, I think all these cards just mean like it's just a free Battle Cry because who can't control when they're casting spells? In the arena, you get a little more iffy, but still, it's a 5 mana 4/6 with a built-in consecration. Like, the reason it's not more crazy, like, I feel like it's weird having to say why a 146 card is not like even better, but like this card may seem like it's even better. The problem is like with stuff like consecration, that's not like stuff like draw a card or discover a spell. Like, you want the consecration when you want the consecration based on what your opponent had just done. And it's the arena. You play a spell maybe every other turn, maybe even less than that. So you kind of have to like luck your way into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, sorry, not a consecration, a volcanic potion.
Right.
Yeah.
But for example, like the cards like the Avalanche card in Mage, in which you can summon double 7/6s, even like in order to prep for that, you had to play an elemental the turn before. But like you kind of always want to play double 7/6s, unless you're just dying. You always want to play double 7/6s. You don't always want to deal 2 damage to all other minions because even if your opponent plays stuff, that 2 damage could be just really negligible as well. And then
Mhm.
another play can become better. So yeah, like when this hits and it hits the board right, it's insane, but it's a little bit weird. The effect is just you don't know whether or not it's going to be amazing.
Yep. Okay, so now we're moving all the way down from 146 to a 126. So we're dropping it to like big ol' whelp level. We're no longer at Twin Tyrant level. We're now at big ol' whelp level. This is a pretty big drop, but it's still premium. Um, it is Bogstruck Clacker, 3 mana, 3/3. Not good. But Battle Cry, transform adjacent minions into random minions that cost 1 more. So we've seen this before in Master of Evolution, which is a 4 mana Yeti, so that's actually on curve. But that only does it to 1 card, and that's way better than this card. So this may transform 2 cards, but the low stats really kind of like hurt it. So it's a 126. The ability's still really good.
Ability is real good because you can value trade and then like that's the thing. In terms of getting the board, keeping the board. So that's part of what is like pushing Vivid Spores up. It's like you have ways to keep the board before Spores, and then Spores helps you keep the board even more, which helps all of these other things. So with Shaman, it's just like we get on the board, we stay on the board, we keep the board, and then nothing they do can get us off the board because we're so freaking annoying with all the death
Doesn't
rattles
that
and the
sound
evokes.
fun to play? I'm really
I
looking forward
know.
to Shaman. It's just they could do everything, and they could do it really well, and they're like all individually strong cards. And what you want to do is just like flood the board with stuff.
You literally can't get them off the board. Like that's the idea behind it. Yeah.
Yep. All right, and then finally the last card for Shaman is still above a 100, but not much. It's a 102. This is like places where Twilight Drakes live. Your Blood Knights, you know, the Ascetic Swamp Oozes. Like they're
Yep.
good, totally playable cards, but the meta's just kind of moved past this kind of stuff. Like when Ascetic Swamp Ooze is like a subpar card, you're kind of in trouble, and especially for shamans, right? Here's what happens: whenever you get a card, especially a new expansion with offering bonus, whenever you get a whole bunch of cards that are really, really good, it pushes everything else down because everything has to be centered. Like everything's relative to the average card that they offer you. So you're getting to places here where like Ascetic Swamp Ooze is only 101 in Shaman. All right.
Wow.
Totemic Reflection. Give a minion +2/+2. If it's a totem, summon a copy of it.
Yeah. Not
So
bad.
if it's a totem, you summon a copy of a 2/4. That's really good to get
That's
like
actually
for
really
free.
good.
So you actually
Yeah.
really want to play this on a totem. The problem is if you just totem on the same turn as a 5 mana card, then you get like 2/2/4s for 5 mana, which is not
Not good.
particularly good. So you want to use it on a totem that's already been on the board for a turn, if possible. That's your best case scenario. Otherwise, if you need to, 3 mana +2/+2 to get a good trade, that's still very worth it. So it has like a good like quote unquote miss case, and then it also has a very good like proactive case if you like buff a totem to a 2/4 and then remove a 2/2 from the board or something, right?
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's 3 mana for a 2/2. And that's just like yes, there's upside. It's just awkward enough and it's just kind of understated enough for the cost such that it's not going to be better than the average card in your deck.
Yeah.
But you'll pick it sometimes. Also, one of the things holding it back is the fact that if you're playing on curve, like, would you like double 2/4s with like either spell damage or heal or taunt on turn 3? Yeah, that's amazing. That's like actually amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But that means you're toteming on 2 and your opponent didn't remove your totem, which they always will.
Yeah.
So
So you have to go
it's
first, and they have to like be coining 3s or like waiting for 4s or something.
yeah.
But it does give a little flexibility to your opener, which for Shaman is usually pretty crap.
Yep.
So yeah, there you go. This is Shaman. It's really, 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 really good. Um, they are playing for the late game. They are getting on the board early. They unnerfed Sludge Slurper, by the way. So now it's a 1 mana 2/1 again. Um, that adds a lackey to your hand and overloads one. So that's good. It's Storm's Wrath is still in the game. That's give your minions +1/+1 and overload one for 1 mana. So that's just very good for like a lot of stuff is supporting this like get a whole bunch of crap on the board kind of playstyle for Shaman. And if you look at Shamans and you go to a higher mana stuff, um, let me do this right. Okay, if you look at the higher, why is this not? Okay, here we go. If you go to the higher mana stuff, there's still a lot of stuff with higher mana. You have Walking Fountain that we said before at 156. You have Eye of the Storm that's still in the game at 10 mana. So and stuff like Torrent and Boxbind Knuckles and Vivid Spores, they're large cards. Like when you have 10 mana, even Vivid Spores, if you're almost completely off the board, that's still like probably 6 mana's worth of stuff for 4 mana. Like it's just they're not small cards. There's just so much stuff going on for Shaman that you can go late in the game. You can do a decent amount of board clears. You have a lot of buffing the board kind of stuff. You're actually quite flexible in your design of a deck, and yeah, you can do many interesting things.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
Let's do legendaries, and then we will end this shaman thing. For legendaries, shamans have 2 legendaries. They're both good. We'll start with the worst one. It's 150, so it's still really good. Lady Vashj, 3 mana 4/3, spell damage +1, which already makes it really good. And the death rattle is shuffle a Vashj Prime into your deck. What is a Vashj Prime?
Vashj Prime is a 7 mana 5/4 with spell damage +1. Battle cry, draw 3 spells, reduce their cost by 3.
Wow.
That's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
The problem is you have to draw 3 spells, which means you need 3 spells left in your deck. And at the point in which you are drawing this guy that you had shuffled into your deck, it's the arena. Who knows if you can even draw 3 cards, right?
It's really late. Yeah, this is like really late in the game. So by that time, you probably don't have much spells. Also, at that time, it's still a 7 mana 5/4. So look, 150, it's still very good. The initial body is good, or like, at least well statted. You're still shuffling something good into your deck, but yeah, this is not as good as like some of the other primes we've seen.
Yep. But the good legendary is the Lurker Below at a 184. This is really good, and you can see why it's really good. It is a 6 mana 6/3. Deal 3 damage to an enemy minion. If it dies, repeat on one of its neighbors. So it could be like deal 3 damage to everything on your opponent's board if they are low enough. If they're not low enough, you still deal 3 damage to something. Just pick a thing that'll die, and then it'll like roll a little bit. Like, and you get some more damage. You're gonna get a decent amount of just like damage out of this ability.
It's just really freaking good. Like, so if you compare it to something like Fire Elemental, right? This can't go face. You're giving up 2 health. And if it's just 1 minion out there, yeah, it's worse. But do you really care? Like, the times in which Fire Elemental is better, you're winning more, right? And for a card like this, you'd rather have it be better when you're in a worse position than have on average a Fire Enemy when it is better for when you're winning, right? For cards like this, you want it to be better when you're losing more. So yeah, it's just really freaking good. And the times in which this kills nothing on their board and you're in danger, wow, you're just screwed. You're just really screwed at that point. I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, it's multi-shot on a stick, and you get to control one of the things that you multi-shot.
Maybe even both, because if you pick
maybe even both. So it is quite good. It is quite good.
Yeah. All right. That's it for Shaman. Let's give a shout out to all of our Patreons. You have the list?
Yes. So once again, thank you to 4P, Aaron L, Cheng Yin, Dan F, Eric L, Felding Ox, Jordan W, Math and Carnage, LV Night Train, Torjado, and Yin. Thank you guys for keeping the lights on here. We appreciate you.
All right. Next, we're going to do Warlock. See you there.
Bye.